Welcome to another episode of First Bite, a midweek podcast emergency OTA edition. Let's go with. My name's Jeremy Reisman. I'm the editor in chief. Whatever. I'm whatever you want to call me. I'm a beat writer for the Detroit Lions for Pride of Detroit. Coming back from Allen Park today for the third OTA, the last one of week one, the only one that was available to the media. So that's what we're here to talk to you guys about. With me is Ryan Matthews right over there at Ryan_POD on Twitter. Ryan, pull me out of this tailspin.
I can't guarantee I can do that, but I am excited to hear what you have to bring back to us from OTAs.
Yeah, let's just kind of jump right into that because I have to imagine everyone's going to be eagerly awaiting what I have to say about every individual player. How does the rookie class look? How does Jared Goff look? All that sort of stuff. And I'm going to be straight with you up at the top. There's not going to be a lot of that kind of observations coming from me today. The way they ran practice was a very kind of casual mood. Not a lot of things were being run at full speed, and when they did run at full speed, it was mostly individual drills. We really only got a 7-on-7 full speed thing to close out practice, and by my account, that was 11 total plays. So I have 11 plays worth of like real observations that I can give you, but then you also have to keep in mind they're not in pads. They're not necessarily in the position groups. There's no offensive or defensive line play in 7-on-7. So in terms of like individual accomplishments, I'm not going to be given that much. But I do want to talk a lot about how the practice looked, because night and day from Matt Patricia. No, I mean, you wouldn't even like Matt Patricia would have hated this practice because and maybe he has something to it, but like there was no wasted time into Matt Patricia practice. Between drills, everyone was sprinting. There was no time for rest. If you were getting some Gatorade, it was while you were running to the next drill. This was so much more laid back, so much more chill, so much more. I don't even know what the right word for it, but it's such a different feel, and you not only saw it on the field, but you heard it from the players, and maybe that's what we'll transition to next, because we also heard from about 5 different players, all the coordinators and the head coach, and the vibes. They're saying in positive vibes. Yes. That is what you felt from this practice is that everyone was having fun out there. Like that came up several times. Fun. And again, like you can create a good football team by being strict and being, don't waste a second of the day and be hard and all that sort of stuff. But you also I feel like I saw some Lions players for the first time today. Guys that have been here for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the most prime example is TJ Hockenson. If you go back and you watch TJ Hockenson's introductory press conference, and granted, he's probably really nervous, he's probably really excited, first round pick, all that sort of stuff. He is such like a meek, like just like nervous guy. And you watch him today and he's just like grizzly face, guy looks like a lion, just like so relaxed and chill, and you hope that sort of stuff kind of rolls over to his play, because he's being himself. He looks more comfortable. Everyone's smiling. Everyone is smiling, and so it's a completely different vibe. It's fun. Rod Wood was coming out shaking the media's hands, which I feel like never would have happened before. It's just like it was like I was covering a completely different team. It was weird.
Yeah. I guess you kind of jumped in front of the question that I was going to ask you, but I was going to ask you if there was like one instance that really stood out to you as being like, okay, this feels different.
Yeah.
Like if there was one thing that happened during practice, and like I guess you kind of addressed it with the TJ Hockenson thing. So, is it cool if we kind of move on to some other things that happened in practice?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the first thing on Lions Twitter's mind.
Yeah.
Has to be Jelani Tavai.
Yeah.
I think that has to be the first thing. We'll get to the Todd Gurley stuff here in a minute, but I think the Jelani Tavai stuff is a cause for talk.
Sure.
Not only has he's dropped a ton of weight apparently.
Yep.
It sounds like he's excited to go back to a role that he feels much more comfortable with, and a role that he played in college. Can you speak to any of that?
Yeah, yeah. Aaron Glenn, I think, called it a stack linebacker, and Jelani Tavai talked about it a little bit, which is, yeah, I mean, it's basically what the Lions' philosophy now is with their front seven, which is the front four, front three, or however many people are on the defensive line. They're just blowing up gaps. That's their responsibility. It's not to maintain gaps. It's not to two gap. It's just to be disruptive. And the linebackers' job is to kind of be patient, don't run themselves out of a play, and just literally stack right behind the line and let the play come to them and make plays. And yeah, again, Aaron Glenn came out. I'm not sure if he was prompted or not, but high praise for Jelani Tavai, who he said dropped 17 pounds. And just that alone, he said, speaks volumes. Now, is that 17 pounds suddenly going to make him a speedier sideline to sideline guy? Probably not.
Probably
He'll
not.
be better. I mean, you're talking about literally losing 20, 21 pounds. I mean, there has to be some athleticism that comes with that. But I think the style of play, like you said, it's what he did in college. He's going to be more comfortable. And again, like you can tell, like he's happier. He's happy. I mean, he's generally kind of a happy guy. He's always kind of had a positive attitude, but you could tell. I mean, it's just little things that you see or hear in those press conferences where it's just like, it's a very veiled shot at the previous regime, but it's there, and you could really see it in any of the press conferences from today. And I don't think they were conscious decisions. I don't think these guys are trying to throw these guys under the bus, but you can just see that they're in a happier place, and you just hope that happiness leads to more comfortability and leads to better play. And with Jelani Tavai, I'm not yet ready to buy into all this stuff, but he's clearly bought in, which is a big first step. Willing to do all of this, make all the sacrifices, and he joked about T.J. Hawkinson waving desserts in front of him and things like that. But I mean, he's buying in. He's doing all he can to be the linebacker that this regime wants him to be, and it certainly isn't his fault that wasn't his MO going into the pros.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge task to take on, because I think I saw on Twitter that Tavai was as heavy as like 268
Yep.
when he was playing under Patricia.
Yep.
I mean that's a big linebacker, and I mean those are the kind of guys that Patricia needed in his scheme. So I mean, kudos to Tavai for doing the things that he needs to do in order to be successful in this regime. I think that Aaron Glenn said something along the lines of like that speaks volumes to like kind of like who he is as a player.
Yep.
And that's great. And that's those are the good things that you like to hear out of training camp. Obviously, every Lions fan wants to take all of that with a grain of salt, but I think that you addressed it when it came to like, is he going to be all of a sudden a sideline to sideline linebacker who's dropping back into coverage and making incredible plays? Like, I mean, we've seen a little Tavai, and we know that like.
Right.
His football instincts and IQ sometimes are lacking, but then again, I mean that can be another scheme thing. So
Right.
I'm a
Comfortability.
big believer. Yeah, I'm a big believer in second chances. So I mean, in a new regime, it's what everybody wanted to do with Jared Davis. So
Yep.
I feel like Jared Davis got a pass, like a big pass,
Yep.
in a way that Jelani Tavai is not getting.
Yep.
So
and maybe that's why, because we gave Jared Davis a second and third and fourth chance, and it didn't work out.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. He's at, I think, 247, and I think he said his goal is 245. And that's still kind of big in terms of the kind of linebacker that they want on this team. So, yeah, you're not going to get the Derek Barnes, sideline to sideline speed out of Tavai. That's just not possible, I don't think, with who he is as a player and his body type and all that sort of stuff. But I'm interested to see how it plays out, because he's also just like a really affable guy that it's hard not to root for. And I know ultimately a lot of people only care about the performance on the field, and that's why Tavai is going to be playing with the weight of the entire city of Detroit on his shoulders, if he even cracks the starting lineup. But to me, he's an easy guy to root for, and it became even easier today after listening to him talk.
Yeah. I want to ask you something else that you noticed in your OTA notes, and that was the cornerback pairings.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you think that there's some smoke where there's fire? Do you think that it's a little bit too early to tell? But, I mean, you had Jeff Okudah, Quentin Dunbar paired together, Oruwariye, and Melifonwu. Do you think that there's anything to that, or do you think it's just early in OTAs?
I mean, yeah, it is extremely early, but I think you do have to take note in how they're entering the field, right? Like you want a certain. I know it sounds weird that you want chemistry between cornerbacks that are literally on the opposite sides of the field and don't cross each other that often, but that is something that I think teams are looking for at this point to see if there is that sort of chemistry. And the kind of weird, interesting note about that is, so that was noticed during 7-on-7s, and Okuda and Dunbar, they were playing against the number 2 and 3 offense, while Oruwariye and Ifeatu Melifonwu, they were going against Jared Goff. So they're kind of like, I mean, you would assume Okuda Dunbar is the one, and Ifeatu and Oruwariye are the two, but the reason I didn't make a lot of observations on the defensive side of the ball is because there's so much rotation, and it becomes muddled between who's first team, who's second team. But I did find it interesting that Oruwariye and Ifeatu Melifonwu were playing against the quote unquote number 1 offense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe the biggest thing I took away from some of the things that were coming out of Allen Park today was just the attendance, right? Like, I mean, how many players were at a voluntary workout, especially after the Lions had mentioned, earlier in the offseason that they weren't going to be there until, things got figured out when it came to COVID and whatnot. So did that help play into the whole, like, this feels different? Because, I mean, look at all the guys that are just willing to be here to be around at OTAs, or...
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. It certainly helped, the kind of rah-rah positive vibes attitude that Dan Campbell is trying to bring. How much of that is true? I don't know. I feel like pretty much every OTA around the NFL is kind of going this way right now. Like, I feel like there's no OTA that has 40 guys right now. Everyone is starting to show up, and I don't necessarily think that's a Lions-specific thing. But, I mean, we were talking, outside of injured players, I think 82 or 83 guys out of 90. So we're talking over 90%. I do think some of the ones that didn't show are notable, and maybe we want to talk about them a little bit. But Jamie Collins, not there. I mean, the most interesting one and maybe controversial one is Tyrell Crosby, right?
Right.
It doesn't feel like that's a coincidence, considering all the trade rumors. But I can't speak to it personally. I don't have inside sources that say there's a clash there. But I mean, usually when you see like veterans like Collins or Brockers, you imagine those guys are just veterans that they're comfortable with what they're doing in the offseason. They don't feel the need to show up for OTAs. I don't think there's drama there. But Crosby, there could be. And that's something we'll just kind of have to wait and see if he shows up for mandatory minicamp in a couple weeks.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing, let's just get to it. Todd Gurley, can we make sense of this?
No. Yeah, I mean, I was sitting with Jeff Risdon today when the news broke, and of course, like, everyone was just like trying to figure this out, and we were both just kind of scratching our heads because my first reaction was like, wow, they hated Kerryon Johnson that much. Because when Kerryon Johnson was waived, everyone was like, oh, they just believe in Jamar Jefferson. Well, that can't be true now, right?
I don't think so.
I mean, we have to be careful not to react like he's signed to the Lions, because he's not signed to the Lions yet. I mean, it could...
Just a visit, right? Just a visit.
Yeah, and so maybe they're just kind of, I don't know, doing their due diligence. But he was in the building today, apparently. Another kind of weird thing that wouldn't have happened under the previous regime is DeAndre Swift just saying, oh yeah, I passed him today in the hallways. It's just like, are you allowed to say that to us? I don't think you're allowed to say that to us. But yeah, I don't quite get it. Maybe they just need a camp body. There was one of the running backs, I can't remember his name. I should pull up my notes right here. Raheem Boyd did not practice today. One of the rookies, the undrafted rookies there. Maybe they need another body, but I mean, if you can find a body that isn't Todd Gurley, I mean, I don't know. Like, there's no sign that they're not happy with Jamal Williams, which would really be the only thing that makes sense. So, I mean, what is and the other question, this is one Risdon brought up to me, is like, how does this make sense for Gurley at all? Like, why does he want to be here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
Well, so I think from maybe Gurley's standpoint, maybe there just isn't a whole lot of interest from other teams around the league.
Yeah.
And Brad Holmes is somebody who's obviously familiar with Todd Gurley from their time spent in Los Angeles with the Rams. I I guess the initial reaction I had to it was trying to balance out like what made sense and what didn't make sense, because it was like Todd Gurley. It's like Todd Gurley. It's like no, it's not that Todd Gurley. It's
Yeah.
like it's like last year's Todd Gurley that we all saw.
Right.
Um, and I think that maybe he brings a and again, just a visit, but if he ends up signing with Detroit, it's a veteran presence. I think that there's a very young running back room. DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, Jamar Jefferson. I mean, Swift is a sophomore, Jefferson's a rookie, 7th round pick. Jamal Williams is the guy with the most experience in that locker room.
And he's like
I mean,
26.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. So I mean, I think the other sect of people who got kind of in a tiff about it were, oh, this is going to take away work from DeAndre Swift. It's going to take away work from DeAndre Swift, and it's like Todd Gurley is not going to eat into DeAndre Swift's carries like Adrian Peterson did.
Right.
Like I don't see that being an issue at all whatsoever. But I think that that's people's perception, is that it's like oh, it's Todd Gurley. It's like, no, it's not that Todd Gurley.
Right.
Like it's not the former NFL should have been MVP. Like, this is a much different running back. So I think though what Gurley's skill set could end up being is something similar to what they would have gotten with Kerryon Johnson. Now I know we heard so much about how good of a pass blocker Kerryon Johnson is. Something that Todd Gurley's pretty good
Decent.
at too. So you get a veteran, you get a guy you can maybe call on in a pinch. It could be really low risk, again, a visit, not even a contract offer. So we don't even know any of the terms or anything, if they're talking contracts or what. But I mean, I'm fine with it. Like, if they bring in Todd Gurley, like, I'm not going to get upset and think that they're sacrificing an opportunity for DeAndre Swift to get carries or touches.
Right. I mean, I'm not going to be thrilled about it if I'm being completely honest. But this is the kind of signing that the last regime would have made instead of Jamal Williams, right? Like, if Jamal Williams wasn't here, they would bring Todd Gurley back, here to be RB2, because I think that's what's scaring people, right? Like, we brought in Adrian Peterson, we brought in CJ Anderson, we brought in LeGarrette Blount, same kind of guy. We're doing, like, repeating the same thing over and over again, and it's not working. And if that's what Todd Gurley is being brought in here to do, and I think we can all agree that's absolutely not what's happening. They like Swift. I mean, if you watch that or read that Athletic article about Jamal Williams and what Anthony Lynn thought about him, like, RB1, RB2 is more like RB1A, RB1B. And so, and that's where the confusing part comes in, is like, does Gurley really want to be here to be RB3, like a clear RB3? I mean, I guess if he's okay with it, if Dan Campbell can go in there and work his charm and convince him, like, hey, you're not going to be our guy, you're not going to be the guy behind the guy, but you're going to be the guy behind the guy that's behind the guy, and being on some third downs, like, I don't know. I mean, we know Campbell is a charismatic guy, but that seems like a tough sell to a guy like Todd Gurley.
Well, I think too, though, Jeremy, like all those names that you just listed off, LeGarrette Blount, CJ Anderson, Adrian Peterson, when those guys came in, they were like clearly going to probably be RB2.
Yeah. Yep.
I think the Lions have an RB1 and an RB2. So that's so I wouldn't be concerned at all if Todd Gurley came in, because I clearly the Lions they're putting players on the roster that make sense in the here and now, and they have some players that are building blocks. And I don't think they're going to sacrifice all of the goodwill and kind of like the positive vibes that they've been, putting together. They're not going to do that and sacrifice that just for somebody like Todd Gurley. So, I have to say this though. Any one player that stood out to you? Any one player? Maybe like a single play or anything. Like, just give somebody something to talk about tomorrow at the water cooler.
I mean, this is not going to be a crowd pleaser, and it's simply because I feel like they spent a good. We only got basically an hour, and I feel like at least 20 minutes of that was devoted to special teams and something very specific on special teams, which was downing a punt inside the 10-yard line. So the gunners got a lot of work. And if there's a guy that stuck out, like, we're gunner talk, who cares about special teams and gunners? But Mike Ford, Looked extremely comfortable.
Okay.
He was killing it. And then the funny thing is, there was one like live full speed rep, and he got the first reps doing it, and the ball slipped through his hands into the end zone for a touchback. So like, I was all ready to like make a full observation about him and give him a whole bunch of praise, and then like the live rep he screws up. But him, we should talk about Jared Goff a little bit too. He's
Okay,
someone
yeah.
that I tried to at least focus on a decent amount, and so during the 11 or the 7-on-7s, the 11 plays that he ran, I believe I had him 8 for 11. But the weird thing about it, and we saw it in the highlight reels from Monday or Tuesday or whatever day one was, didn't throw anything downfield. The entire practice, whether it was individual drills or the 7-on-7s, just did not throw downfield. And I don't know if that's a sign of things to come in terms of what this offense is going to be like. I don't know if that's protecting him from the media. I don't know if that's something that they're just building up to. We don't need that. There wasn't any 1v1s, wide receivers versus corners. We didn't see those drills.
Mm-hmm.
We basically saw 7-on-7s, and we saw just Goff throwing to wide receivers running routes with no defense. And so I thought he was very accurate the entire day. There was one mix-up during 7-on-7s where he threw a seam route to TJ Hockenson, not in the vicinity of him. So there was some sort of miscommunication there. But to me, it looked like a professional quarterback. It's really hard to tell when I'm literally working on a sample size of 11, and even then, no offensive defensive line, but no reason for concern yet.
Well, I mean, that's good news. There was one other interesting thing I wanted to talk about from this day of OTAs, and it was special teams coordinator Dave Fitt.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like the punt return competition is wide open. Who were the guys back there? And was there anybody who seemed to stand out or no?
No, because again, it was mostly just downing punts.
Okay.
So they were fair catching, and as far as I could tell, no one muffed a kick or anything like that. So really hard to tell. So Khalif Raymond, I think, is generally kind of thought of as the leader in the clubhouse, has the most experience at the NFL level doing it. The other guys that are in the mix right now, D'Angelo Amos, the undrafted rookie, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Victor Bolden, and Tom Kennedy. Tom Kennedy didn't practice today, but Dave Fipp did say that he was kind of in the mix, which also leads you to believe that Tom Kennedy is there, just injured at this point or dealing with something.
Yeah. Any confirmation whether or not Victor Bolden's a wide receiver or running back?
I believe he's a wide receiver, despite the fact that he was labeled as a running back on the photo gallery of day one.
Okay. Another maybe cause for concern for some Lions fans, especially the deep Lions fans. Molbeck. It's a competition, right?
That's what Fipp said. And yeah, I mean, he compared it to I think someone else compared it to the quarterback situation, right? They didn't bring in any extra quarterbacks during OT or during rookie minicamp because they know the guys that they want. They know the guys that are in the competition. So the fact that there is a long snapper on the roster says, at least to him, and obviously he didn't have a choice in the matter in terms of quarterback, but he just said, if they're here, they're competition. And so we're not gonna hand the job to him. There's a kicker battle going on as well. There's not a punter battle. We know who's going to win the punter battle. But yeah, he said he viewed everything as a competition. And he did say, like, listen, I've spent the last couple months learning who Don Muhlbach is. He's an incredible person. He's got a great career. He's going to be very hard to beat. But everything right here is a competition right now. So I can't tell you who's winning the long snapper battle at OTAs yet. And it's even hard to tell what are first team reps and what are second team reps during punt reps, but I have to imagine that Muhlbach is still the heavy favorite there.
I mean, that definitely does alleviate some of my anxiety, but at the same time, how many off seasons are we going to do #long snapper watch? I feel like we've done it every year since like 2017.
Many have tried, all have fallen. Sorry, Stephen Wordles of the world.
Oh, Jimmy Landis.
R.I.P.
He had the clearest route as a draft pick.
Pretty much. I don't think I have anything else on my notes that we'll answer some questions to our live audience, but I think we'll wrap up the podcast broadcast there. If you want to listen to more, you can watch this on replay on our Twitch and YouTube channels, twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit, youtube.com/c/Pride of Detroit, or you can read our notes on prideofdetroit.com. But until next time, for Ryan Matthews, I'm Jeremy Reisman. Thank you for listening. It's chaos. Be kind. Okay, live audience. Let's hang out for a little bit. Let's chat. I know
your
a bunch.
Outro was so much better than your intro, by the way. I want to comment.
Thank you.
I want to compliment you on that.
Thank you. You know I'm self-conscious about all that sort of stuff, so I appreciate that. Let me get rid of the bot here. Let me catch up on alerts too. We had your local gulag subscribe for 4 months, total 3 in a row, using that Twitch Prime subscription. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Pinecone Jones with the follow. Lions Blood with the 7-month subscription. And then Troy Barnes just came in with 6 months, 5 in a row. Appreciate all that sort of stuff. Thank you so much. Lefty Detroit, your partner now. Jeremy, how much pull do you have to get my then to bring back Twitch? I would love to bring back Twitch things. I'm still a nobody though. Joshua Mercer with the 5 gifted subs. That crosses him over 400 gifted subs on the channel. My goodness. By the way, can we get some gooses in the chat? Because I don't know if you notice. We got a goose in the background right over there.
Goose. Hey.
Oh, look at him giving your paw. Sewell looked like a rookie. Alien, I can't really give you any sort of comment on Penei Sewell when 1, he's not wearing pads. 2, he's not doing any live actions against defense. He's just, basically running into pads. The one thing I will say about Sewell is that, it was, I think Dan Campbell was the one who said, he's like, it was kind of weird seeing Sewell out there for the first time and being like, wow, he's a lot smaller than Taylor Decker. And then Sewell himself said yeah, I was next to
Dan Skipper, right?
Dan Skipper, and he's like, holy crap, these guys are way taller than me. So it was different for him. I thought it was an interesting quote from him saying today, admitting that moving from left tackle back to right tackle is not easy. And I mean, it's not something that we didn't know. How many times do we need to bring up the Jeff Schwartz quote about wiping your butt with your right and left hand? But it's kind of interesting. I mean, he's a guy that I don't know, something about Sewell is very loose and honest and refreshing. And I guess it's just a sign of the times now. But spending the last 3 years with rookies that just seem afraid of the camera, it's refreshing to see him be honest about the position. And it kind of took me aback a little bit. And I'm like, oh yeah, I think we're all just assuming Sewell's going to be an all-pro right out of the box, but it's going to be an adjustment period. And I know he's got 3 months until the regular season, but he's not going to be perfect. And I think we should start preparing ourselves for that.
And I think every offseason we prepare ourselves to be team trade back. But if the Lions would have traded back, they wouldn't have got Penei Sewell.
It's true. Oh yeah,
would have been a Carolina Panther.
I still haven't watched that video, but apparently, yeah. There's a video. What do they literally list their options on it?
Yeah. It was Sewell and then it was Horn. And I'm trying to forget the next two. I think. Oh man, one of them was a wide receiver. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, let me see if I can put that video in chat for our live audience. If you don't know what we're talking about, basically the Carolina Panthers did a behind the scenes draft video that they dropped this morning, I want to say.
Yeah,
there it is. I'm still crossing my fingers that the Lions are eventually going to do something like that, but there's the link in Twitch chat. But yeah, that's a
little interesting nugget
for sure. Let me go through my notes of the press conferences, because I feel like that was honestly, I said this, I don't know if I said this on stream or before we went on stream. I do feel like I learned more about the team during the press conferences than the practice.
Yeah.
Let's see. Who didn't we talk about much?
Go ahead.
I
I was going to say, ass kickers, right? Some more cursing on the behalf of not the players this time, but the coaching staff.
Yeah, who was that? Was that Glenn or was that?
Was it Aaron? It was Aaron Glenn, I
I
think,
think
right?
it was Aaron Glenn. I was having some trouble today because we were outside during the press conferences, and then I was doing Zoom on my phone. Then my phone overheated in the sun, and then I had to use my computer, and I didn't have headphones for my computer, so I was echoing for everybody, and so it was awkward. But yeah, so I think I missed the Ask King quote, but I saw someone tweet about it. But yeah, I mean, just like, and I guess maybe that's the other thing, and I didn't mention that on the podcast, is just like the coaches. Like, I feel the coaches were as much on display today as the players, and I mentioned in my notes that that out of everyone that really stood out in terms of like their excitability, their loudness, it was Mark Brunell, which came as a surprise to me. Just like as soon as I walked out on the field, like he's there, like I don't want to say he was screaming at the players because that, I mean, it was more of like an enthusiastic thing, like let's like I mean just like a joyous
Just
thing.
like
He wasn't
thing.
he wasn't lecturing them and just like blowing his whistle, and like he's literally out in front of all three quarterbacks running to the next drill. And I just thought it was funny. I thought it was interesting. Out of all the coaches, he was one of the last I would have expected to be all energetic and excited. So that came as a surprise to me. Goose is being very cute right now.
Well, I mean, he keeps on trying to go like side to side. Yeah, I mean, if Tim Tebow can come back, so can Mark Brunell, right?
There we go. Lefty Detroit with the 5 gifted subs as well. He's at 385 in the channel. Legends, all of you, legends. Thank you for the support. Appreciate that.
Well, speaking of support, I think I need to pull back the old curtain a little bit here and tell people. Oh, hey, pipe down. I think I need to kind of tell everybody like thank you in a roundabout way, because with all of your generous subscriptions and your donating your bits and all that good stuff, I was able to get a new mic because my 3-year-old broke mine. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate
claps
the
in
support.
chat for chat.
Thank you.
Yeah, we do appreciate that. Did Deuce notice my lack of mustache? No, he did not. We weren't close enough, I don't think, for him to notice.
I don't know why. I didn't hear Deuce. I heard Goose, and I was like, he's a dog.
I don't think Goose ever saw me with a mustache anyways.
That's true.
What did I miss? How did Okuda in the secondary look? Again, hard to tell. They only went up against the offense during those 11 drills, and I spent it watching the first team offense, which, as I mentioned at the top, Okuda wasn't going against the top offense. So I didn't really see him play against the defense today or against the offense today. Yeah. I will say it did seem like Goff did not have a lot of space to throw in, but again, we're talking 11 plays. One of them may have been broken up by Amani Oruwariye. The very last play of 7-on-7s may have been a drop by, I think it was Quintus Cephas. Hard to tell from where I was. Don't get a replay, unfortunately. So,
there's something that I thought I saw on Twitter that I wanted to ask you about. Oh, no, it was in your notes from OTAs. So the second team offensive line, was Stenberg rotating? Was he the only guy who was like rotating with another guard, or were you like unsure of whether or not it was Stenberg or?
So I'd seen 2 different snaps with those guys, and
okay,
and yeah, so we're talking left guard. Let me just consult my notes here. So yeah, it was Stenberg. I think it was Stenberg that I saw it first, and then I saw Evenheim kind of rotate in there.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, I didn't even see everyone out there. I don't think. Like, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I saw just about everyone out there. But yeah, I mean, they barely have enough for 2 full offensive lines. But I think they're at 11. So yeah, so basically, the second team offensive line, if you didn't see, the first team is just exactly who you expect it would be. Left tackle was Matt Nelson. Left guard was Logan Stenberg and Evenheim. Center was Evan Brown. Right guard was Tommy Kramer. Right tackle was Dan Skipper. And I don't really have observations on the offensive line or defensive line. I see Chad asking about defensive line. Again, no contact, no going up I mean, the defensive line literally never went up against the offense. The offensive line literally never went up against the defense. So you'd have to ask my observations of them going against, padded the pads or the sleds, things like that. Like, and if I'm being completely honest, I didn't even bother to look. Like, I mean, it's
not
really
worth
hard.
your time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can't give you observations on that, unfortunately. Warwick asked, you just talked about sitting next to Risdon. What's your relationship with them? Friendly rivalry, just friends? Totally friends. Risdon's a great guy. We at the very, very end of practice and everything, we actually got to go back into the facility for the first time to just work, not in the sun. And I mean, we even had a conversation about Eric, and there's absolutely no ill will for us taking him, quote unquote, taking him from Risdon. We're all super friendly about it, and he's a great guy. It's unfortunate that he lives on the west side of the state, so we don't get to see him as often. But sounds like he'll be coming out here regularly during OTAs, so that's good to know.
Yeah, he kind of lightened his load this offseason by leaving Brownswire. But can you imagine running 2 websites, Jeremy?
That's no. That sounds like a nightmare. No. Absolutely a nightmare.
Yeah.
Who took over for Collins in 7-on-7s? So I have a very vague listing, and again, it was really, really hard for me to tell what's first team and second team because they were rotating them, and the reason I didn't put in my my takeaways is because I don't know how reliable of notes they are. They were faced away from us, so it was hard to see numbers at times. So I'm actually just going to choose not to answer that because I don't know. I don't know for sure.
Always better. Always better to err on the set. What happened with pick 1, Taylor Swift or Katy Perry?
What does that mean? What does that mean? I have to pick one. Taylor Swift. Did you say Taylor Decker or Katy Perry?
No, I said Taylor Swift.
I know you're a huge Taylor Swift fan.
Oh my gosh. Taylor Decker or DeAndre Swift?
Oh,
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift would be an incredible football player. Imagine a left tackle that can do the things that DeAndre Swift can do.
That's a tight end.
I had a question during lunch today that I think would be pretty interesting for you to answer.
Okay. So
we're all just sitting in our little kind of like teacher's lounge room. It's not really that, but it's just like an empty classroom. So we're having lunch, and a former football player who coaches at the school and teaches as well, he goes, would you rather be the biggest and strongest player on the field or the fastest player on the field?
Ooh. I've always been enamored with speed. It was the thing that I was the closest to an athletic trait I had in my body was speed.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I had a little shake to me when I was in like elementary school, but never like elite traits. So I think I would rather, since I was so close, I think I'd rather be faster.
Yeah. I said strong.
Yeah.
Like the biggest and strongest, just because I think it'd be so fun to just throw other people around.
You're just a violent person.
That's me.
I see someone saying, wait, is Tori leaving? And now I'm seeing a tweet from the lines that say, thank you and good luck, Sports Tori. So that seems to be potentially true. Should we watch it? It's a 3-minute video. I saw her today and she didn't say anything.
What's up, Lions fans? 2021 has been a year of change for Detroit. A new GM, a new head coach, a new staff, a new culture, and a new quarterback. The reason I'm here in front of this camera today is to tell you about another change that's coming. After 7 years in Detroit, today is my last day as a team reporter for the Lions. I've chosen to move on, and it's hard for me to say that and doesn't feel totally real quite yet, but I knew it wouldn't until I was able to tell you all, the loyal Lions fans who have watched me grow up here in Detroit, personally. It's not quite a precisely 9-minute tribute video that will drive you to tears, but I still wanted to say goodbye in my own way, sitting at this desk and talking to you all like I have every Monday after Lions games. I've made a lot of memories here over the years, and I'd like to think I made them with you as you pulled up DetroitLions.com or turned on Fox Sports Detroit and watched my reporting.
That doesn't even look like her.
I want to thank all of you for welcoming this girl from Florida into the amazing state of Michigan
what, 7
until
years ago,
I legitimately became a Michigander. My first game here in 2014 was Monday Night Football to open the season, and I remember how in awe I was that this was actually my job, and that was just the start of 7 incredible years. There were insane comebacks that left my jaw on the ground, scrambling to entirely change my line of questions for the player on the field after the game because the story completely shifted with seconds to go. I had the honor of covering 2 playoff games and going on 2 trips to London and meeting the passionate fans in the UK. After my first season, I wanted an outlet to just be able to plain talk football with you guys and share my view on the game. Something like that didn't exist before. So Tori's Take was born, and you all welcomed that with open arms. Then we started the One Pridecast, and you guys became loyal listeners. I had the joy of introducing you to new free agents, new draft picks, new coaches, and new GMs with our sit-down interviews. I got to tell stories of players playing for their hometown team and the long-lasting effects some had on the community here. I saw parts of Michigan I never even knew existed with all the traveling we did on Fox Sports Detroit, now Bally Sports, on Lions Game Plan, to find creative ways to tell you about that week's game. I even got to take players around Detroit to experience some of the best things our amazing city has to offer. You guys were with me through multiple hair colors and many years of personal and professional growth. Thank you for being patient with me when I made plenty of mistakes at the beginning, for laughing along when Lomas Brown and I took every possible opportunity to mention being Florida Gators, and for all the times you stopped me to say hello at Ford Field as I was running from one interview to the next. I always wanted to help you guys feel closer to this team, and I hope I did that. While this is a season of change for the Lions, I'm confident it's change in the right direction. I'm excited about the new staff here and about the future of this franchise. I know I'm leaving you all in good hands. As I head off to new adventures, I'm not entirely sure what's next for me, but what I do know is that I will forever hold the Lions, the city of Detroit, the state of Michigan, and you guys, the fans, close to my heart. To steal a line from another popular video you may have watched this year, I'm saying thank you, not goodbye. Signing off one last time from Xfinity Studio, I'm Tori Petry.
Don't think there was any Matt Patricia about Quinn in there.
I think you're right. Man, that's a bummer. That's a bummer. I wonder what's next for her. But yeah, that was unexpected. I literally said hi to her today, thinking it was just a normal day for her. But yeah, like what she said there at the end, like I hope I made the Lions a little more, personal for you and helped you get to know the players and all that sort of. She accomplished all those goals in spades. Yeah. Wow. That's when did she start at POD? I mean, I don't think I can offer what the Lions probably offered her, but she's welcome aboard. She can take my job. She can sit in on the podcast from now on.
Yeah.
I'll just become a written guy.
I'm sure that she would be so excited to do that.
Wait, she's moving on without a new job lined up, or could she not announce yet? That seemed unclear to me. I think she said something like, well, it's not clear what the next step is.
Yeah.
So that made it sound like maybe there's not something lined up, but I don't know. Yeah, I imagine there's if she has something lined up, she probably can't announce it yet. So.
Right.
Wow. That's a shocker. I don't know how to react to that. She was extremely good at her job.
Oh yeah.
That's bottom line there is that there really wasn't someone in a position like that before. Like she essentially created that position, made it her own, and I thought did a fantastic job. Like I'm trying to think of like my favorite moments. I really like the Ask a Lion stuff that she did, and so much so that I almost kind of took it for myself and did it a little bit with the Lions players, but not in a video fashion, more of a written fashion. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's just it's wild, like the turnover that's kind of going on right now. And I guess I would consider her media. I mean, she did a podcast. I guess another thing that really stands out from her tenure with the Lions too is like she mentioned in that video, like being able to like introduce us to like all these people in a interview format.
Yeah.
He was the first one to talk to Brad Holmes in a sit down, Dan Campbell in a sit down, Penei Sewell, Frank Ragnow, countless draft picks and things like that. So, but yeah, I mean, Petry, Rothstein, yeah, a lot of turnover, a lot of change.
It's a changing business at all times.
Was Woodyard there today, or?
I didn't see him at practice. He was at the pressers. I don't know if I saw him at the practice today.
Okay. Have you had a chance to introduce yourself to him yet, or no?
Not in person.
Not in person. Okay.
But yeah, it's changing. And the last thing I want to say on Tori is just like, I never felt like there was a topic that was over her head, like she.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the elephant in the room is like, women in the media don't get treated the same. They just don't. And she proved time and time again, I think, that she belonged, that she was not outcasted, that she was not in over her head, that football terminology, things like that women often get accused of not knowing. She was in there with the big boys. And that needs to be pointed out, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, I've met her a handful of times, like either like going down and, going to games, or going to training camp and being, with the media when you were in California, but also at the Taste of the Lions event, just asking her about, running into her and kind of like introducing myself formally and, mentioning to her like, hey, we have a podcast. It would be awesome if you would come on. She's like, yeah, just like shoot me a DM and and it felt genuine, like she always felt like she had like time to like interact or at least say hi to you, and was very, very pleasant. So
yep,
it's a bummer. And that's a loss, man.
She did eventually. I mean, she didn't come on the podcast, but she did go on the interview series that Mike did, the man coverage. And I actually was fortunate enough to go on the One Pridecast as well. I was there was like a fan centric episode, and it was me, Sweta, and I think someone else, but it was very nice of her to even think of that. Lefty Detroit says my daughter wants to see the puppy, so can we get another Goose cameo really quick?
Goose?
I can bring my pup around here too, if you want two pups. Come here,
buddy.
Daz, come.
Come here,
good
Goose.
boy. Good boy. Come here.
Goose.
Let me see it for a second.
Come here.
Come here. Up. Here you go.
Come on.
Oh, puppy cast. Puppy cast. There you go. You can have your little bone now. All right, that's enough for him.
Yeah. Oh, you want to go eat? You want to go eat dinner soon? Yeah, you're hungry.
Pets of Detroit. That's right. All right. I think we're gonna wrap things up there. Best of luck to Tori and whatever comes next. Thank you all for joining us. Just to update you on our schedule for the rest of the week. Saturday we'll be doing our locker room thing, but I think we're going to be doing it at an earlier time. Look for a post on Friday to confirm what time that is. I know Ryan wants to go a little bit earlier. I still have to confirm with Eric. And then we'll have a full POD cast on Monday night. Maybe talking more Todd Gurley, maybe talking more Jelani Tavai. Those seem to be two hot topics at the moment that we'll dig a little bit deeper into. And whatever else happens between now and then, maybe some more OTA talk as well. So